Hey, what's up everyone? hiscorechef back with an update to my Mastemon profile for the BT17 format. Not too much was released in the Secret Crisis set that Mastemon could really realistically utilize. However, one card in particular did catch my eye and has the potential to help Mastemon outshine the rest of the competition. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank everyone for the constant interest and support for any and all content I provide. And as a friendly reminder, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Digimon TCG content. I also live stream tournaments so you can catch my decks in action and just how effective my builds can be in a competitive setting. Be advised, this is a more competitive build of Mastemon. I actually just recently topped in second place this past week during a Evolution Cup and couldn't have been happier. Just goes to show that practice and due diligence pays off. I'll also be covering some tech cards and other options you could potentially use in the deck, as well as how much the deck will cost to build overall for those interested in putting together a Mastemon deck for themselves. Without further ado, let's jump right in. For our Digitama, I am still running purple base with the starter deck 10 Niaromon. Great inheritable, which allows for early trash build by drawing a card and trashing a card from hand on attack. It's also good to note that it's not a once per turn effect, so if you can find ways to unsuspend your stack, you can in fact take advantage of the draw one and trash one. For our level 3 rookie lineup, we only have 8 in total. Starting us off will be one copy of BT3 Digimon, a staple floodgate to prevent our opponents from gaining any extra memory outside of Tamer effects. Helps shut off any Ukomon engines you may run into, as well as other meta decks like Mirage Galgamon and Ancient Garurumon. And sure, the argument that these decks can easily deal with floodgates like Digimon is valid, but your opponent still is forced to play around it or have to spend resources or a potential turn to get rid of it. Leaving Digimon unchecked would not be in their favor. A second floodgate that I like to still play is the BT8 Psychmon. Prevents both players from reducing play costs on Digimon. And before anyone decides to chime in on whether or not Psychmon can stop the reduction of play costs on option cards, the answer is no, it cannot. Due to the fact that option cards actually don't have a play cost. See? So it's only Digimon play costs that can't be reduced while Psychmon's on the field. So red players, you can stop sweating, no one will take Crimson Blaze away from you, I promise. Ultimately, Psychmon is here to prevent a potential Def Xmon from being dropped, but there are a few other lesser Digimon that can take advantage of play cost reduction, so it's always good to just have a counter for those type of plays your opponents may rely on. Continuing on, it's 2 copies of EX6 Salamon. This card has a decent effect which can gain you an extra memory at the start of your main phase as long as you have at least one purple Digimon or purple Tamer in play. It combos very well with both Mirror Tamers for extra memory for your turn as well as for your Mastemon combos. The minus 2000 DP on your opponent's Digimon for the turn is also a great way with dealing with any pesky floodgates your opponent may have as well, so just 2 copies is good. And our final rookie is going to be 4 copies of the BT17 Salamon. Decided to go back to playing the full playset due to how powerful this card actually is. It normally has an evolution cost of 1 memory, but since we're running Niaromon as our Digitama, this Salamon can actually evolve for 0 cost instead. Gives you access to your Gatomons and trash by being able to Digivolve into them with the evolution cost reduced by 1. This effect can be triggered at the start of your main phase, so as soon as you raise it up, you can trigger it, or by just directly playing from hand or from the trash. So as long as it's just being hard played, you could still, trigger it. It's really good. Great way to set up your Gatomons and going into your level 5 pieces. Works especially well if you have your BT11 Mirai already set in play. That way you can play whatever counterpart angel you need in order to complete your Mastemon DNA evolution. For our level 4 champions, you'll preferably want to run an equal ratio to your rookies. So it's 8 level 4s, starting with the BT11 Devimon. This card gains access to Rush and Retaliation during your turn, as long as you have a yellow Digimon or yellow Tamer in play. My usual lethal striking card, or just an extra hit in general when I need it. The Retaliation rarely ever comes up, but just be aware you do have access to it if you need to kamikaze into an opponent's Digimon. Only 3 copies of the EX6 Gatomon. Lets you search the top 3 cards of your deck for 1 Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel trait Digimon, and 1 potential Mirai Tamer. You then bottom the rest to your deck. Had to cut down to 3 instead of the 4 copies I used to run because I saw much more value in running at least the 1 copy of the BT11 Devimon as a preferred card. This particular Gatomon also tends to miss on search quite a bit, actually. It's a great searcher for early game, especially if you are searching for Mirai Tamers to have in hand, but the starter Gatomon is still the more ideal searcher, since it has a higher guaranteed chance you'll get your pieces you need, as its only requirement for the Digimon targets is to be either yellow or purple. Never was a big fan of trait-specific searchers like this card, but we have to play it because it's still a necessary piece to help us get to our Mastemon combos. So just 3 copies. I actually brick less with it at 3, if you believe me. Alright, as I mentioned before, our final level 4s will be 4 copies of the starter deck 10 Gatomons. Has an on-play effect to search the top 3 cards of your deck, to retrieve 1 yellow and 1 purple Digimon among them to your hand, returning the remaining cards back to the bottom of your deck. The end-of-turn inheritable effect to DNA Digivolve is also crucial to our Mastemon plays, as it allows us to pass turn without worry. So the ideal is to basically just, if you have your 2 Mirai set, you could just hard play. Get your search, get whatever pieces you need, trigger the EX6 Mirai to evolve into a Lady Devi or Anjuwamon in trash, suspend the BT11 Mirai, play your counterpart Angel, then just DNA. It's great. Super efficient. As long as you have it set up. Alright, our level 5 ultimates will be a lineup of 12 total cards. Now before I jump into this, I do want to mention that I did decide to omit the usage of Lucemon Chaos Mode from the deck entirely. After thoroughly playing this deck in a competitive environment, Chaos Mode just doesn't feel necessary anymore. I came to that realization that the deck just already has so much good removal tools on its own, and playing a Lucemon Chaos Mode over a level 5 Angel trait Digimon felt more like a wasted turn. The BT17 is great for Tamer removal, but with how fast the game has become now and how easily players can just play Tamers for free in most decks, it completely invalidates it for me. EX6 Chaos Mode is also in the same boat, just a tech card you can use, but highly recommended not to. These 2 cards aren't Angel traits of any kind either, so you take a hit in consistency in terms of plays going into your Mastemon outside of your turn. So, with that being said, we are keeping this Maste list strictly tribal to Angel, Archangel, Fallen Angel trait. So, starting us off, we're going to be using 2 copies of BT11 Anjuwamon. Great tool to be able to search your security stack directly for a piece for your Mastemon combos, along with the potential of recovering a security bomb or other piece you may need later down the road. Gives you access to blocker as well, in which helps the deck become much more resilient against potential bad matchups and preventing damage from decks that tend to go wide with bodies or attempt for rookie rush strategy. 3 copies of the BT11 Lady Devimon, one of the most absolute must cards in this deck. It allows you to get cards back from trash, as well as placing cards you want back into it. Retaliation Inheritable also forces your opponent to have to play around the stack that has access to it instead of haphazardly attacking. And don't forget, just a friendly reminder, that these 2 cards do kind of work in tandem together, well, at least with their counterparts. So if you happen to play a Mirai or a Lady Devimon while this is on the field, you get a memory back. Same thing with this. You play a Mirai or an Anjuwamon while this is in play, you get a memory back. So don't forget that. Extra memory is always nice. 1 copy of the BT17 Digimon Ace. Just a great card in general. By trashing the top card of your security, you get to minus 6,000 DP on an opponent's Digimon for the turn, and with an all turns once per turn effect, if a security card was removed from your stack while you had 3 or fewer, you get to recover 1. So, it's kind of funny how if you had this on the field and your opponent swings into security while you have 4, they get the check, but you just get it back. It's kind of funny, honestly. And it's also nice to just hard play every now and then. Sometimes I've found myself hard playing the Digimon Ace here after setting up a Lady Devimon because I had no other method of getting an Digimon out. So this is just another cost-effective way to go into a Mastemon. It is a risky stack at that point because you will overflow 3 if you lose it, but hey, sometimes you gotta make those plays. 3 copies of EX6 Digimon. Mostly used for the Alliance inheritable and minus 2 security checks on an opponent's Digimon. Really helps kind of like stall out when you need to. If you don't happen to have a Mirai Tamer at the time of playing this card or digivolving into it, you get to just play it one for free from your hand. Great way to set up your board state to start your Mastemon game plan. And finally, last but not least, 3 copies of EX6 Lady Devimon. Personally, I think this card is the strongest out of all of your level 5s. I still, to this day, I believe that firmly. It has the capability to delete a level 4 lower Digimon your opponent has, so long as you have a Mirai already in play. Or you could play a Mirai from your trash if you don't. But best of all, you have access to Scapegoat, a very powerful tool to have access to on your Mastemon stack, because it can just protect it from deletion outside of your own effects. Whether it be battle, Digimon effect, option effect, you can just delete another Digimon and prevent it from deleting. So 3 copies. Love to see it. Our level 6 lineup will be 6 in total. And of course, it's the Parallel Tactician herself. We're going to have 3 copies of the starter deck 10 Mastemon, as well as 3 copies of the EX6 Mastemon Ace. Starter deck Mastemon is great to play during your turn, whereas the Ace counterpart should be used more conservatively, in order to potentially counterplay an opponent. But sometimes you will end up DNAing into the Ace during your turn at times. Ultimately, it's up to you as a player to make that call and to decide which plays are best, given the situations you find yourselves in. Both cards are incredibly strong, and there are several other potential routes of plays you can open up into, given you have the right setup. And just, yeah, one thing is for certain, once a Mastemon comes into play, you'll always have another Digimon played out due to their effects, so capitalize on that the best you can. Alright, and so now we get to our level 7s. Alright, so for the level 7s, although not entirely necessary, it's recommended to run due to various unfavorable matchups. In a way, level 7s so far have all been specific to an archetype deck or used as tech choices. In regards to this profile, however, these are all, in fact, tech choices, so feel free to make your own decisions to whether or not you want to use these or not. Our first level 7 mega is going to be BT9 Def Xmon. Now that hybrid decks are relevant again, it's a no-brainer as to why you'd play this card. Your opponents will end up paying for it in the end, going so wide with their Tamers and Digimon. You just literally reduce the play cost by 3 for every Tamer and Digimon they have. So you could potentially play this for free, if at nothing at all. You can also just evolve straight on top of your Mastemon for just the cost 6 if you need to. But the results will all be the same. Once Def Xmon hits the field, whether you on-play it or digivolve into it, you can de-digivolve all of your opponent's Digimon and delete all of their level 4 and lower ones. Great card to have against Numamon decks especially. And with the end of opponent's turn effect to delete their lowest play cost Digimon, it's a constant pressure tool to force them to either play more bodies to prevent the deletion of one or to outright spend a lot of memory to get rid of it. So, great tool to have. Second level 7 will still be our EX4 Shine Greymon Ruin Mode. Gives you access to a powerful blanket effect of 5,000 minus DP on your opponent's entire field for a turn. You can also attack to add an additional minus 5k DP that same turn for a potential of minus 10,000 on their board for their next turn. It's insane. You get to also have the potential to delete an opponent's Digimon, recover one, and then potentially hatch a new Digitama from the raising zone. This card is nuts. It's still nuts, and this card does so much. It's a very oppressive card, and it helps in a variety of matchups that rely on a lot of level 3 rookie cards and their on-play effects. This card alone helps with the Imperial Dramon matchup, but honestly, I have to see it for it to even matter. But anyway, one copy here. And then, of course, the final level 7 Mega. The one singular card Secret Crisis gave this deck, as support unintentionally, is the Shine Greymon Burst Mode Ace. This card is super powerful. A 15,000 DP attacker. Due to it being an ace card, you can easily digivolve on top of your Mastemon and take your opponents by surprise. No one expects an ace on top of your level 6 stack. Outside of a few select decks in the current meta that are more familiar to the player base that use them. No one's gonna expect you to ace this ace onto a Maste. No one will expect it, at least for now, so I recommend using one of these. With an incredible skill on play, or when digivolving, this card allows you to play any one Tamer card in your hand without paying the cost, and then reducing the DP of one of your opponent's Digimon by 5,000 for each yellow Tamer you have in play. You can also gain access to the when attacking effect by suspending up to 2 of your yellow Tamers. For each one, this Digimon gains security attack +1. This card is just a fantastic offensive and defensive tool overall. It does it all. Like, it just allows you to have a better counter plan against much more unfavorable matchups in the current meta. However, it is a single color yellow Digimon, so realistically our starter deck Gatomon will be the only card that can reliably search this card out for you. Technically, we run another option card that can potentially search this card out, but we'll get to that later. Outside of that, you'll have to draw into it, but since it's only a 1-of copy, you do have a more favorable statistical chance to get it over it ending up in your security or just getting trashed. So, 1 copy. I highly recommend using a Burst Mode Ace in this deck. Alright, with all of our Digimon cards covered, let's get to our new ratio of Tamers and option cards. Starting off, I decided to include back the BT8 Kari Kamiya. Mastemon as a deck definitely has its own strengths and merits. However, one aspect of the deck is glaringly obvious. It still lacks speed and memory efficiency. Not saying the deck on its own is slow, it's just compared to every other deck that is meta relevant currently in the competitive scene, Mastemon is unfortunately still slower by comparison. And so that is why I decided to include it back as a way to answer the memory deficit, I can't English today, I'm sorry, issue the deck has. This will guarantee that your turn starts at 3, and with the amount of times you could recover a security stack, the extra memory gain by suspending this Tamer helps potentially extend out some plays. 3 copies of BT11 Mirei Mikagura, as well as 3 copies of the EX6 Mirei Mikagura. In the later stages of the EX6 format, I did do some testing with both of these Tamers at just 2 copies each, but I soon learned that was a mistake. You unfortunately don't see them fast enough, and the deck suffered far worse in terms of speed and efficiency without the extra copies. So the deck has to play minimum 3 each. That is from my personal experience, chat room. Don't take my word for it, but I mean, I be doing some work with this deck. I can make results with this deck, so take that as you will. 3 minimum copies of both of these Tamers is recommended. Both of these Tamers can in fact get you to your Mastemon on their own. However, it's much more preferred to combo them together. So it's very important to get these 2 Tamers in play as soon as you possibly can. One gains you memory every turn, as well as allowing you to play the counterpart level 5 Angel for free. And then the other allows for gaining memory for playing the appropriate trait card, whether it's Archangel, Fallen Angel, or Holy Beast, and you get to suspend for an extra memory, and then you get to digivolve into either an Angel piece from trash with the evolution reduced by 1. And if that wasn't enough, you have access to end-of-turn DNA digivolving off of this Tamer alone, so you don't always have to rely on Gatomon. It's great. It's so good. So, as you can see, both Tamers are powerful on their own, but together they become an unstoppable engine that produces Mastemon plays for you in the blink of an eye. one copy of BT6 Reinforcing Memory Boost, because unfortunately it's currently limited to one copy per deck. Allows you to search the top 2 cards of your deck and grabbing either of them, and then placing the remaining card to the top of your security stack. You also get the delay effect to trash this card from the battle area and gain 3 memory back. Helps answer the memory efficiency issue this deck seems to have, on top of being able to potentially search out your Shine Greymon Burst Mode Ace, as I mentioned previously. The 3 extra memory helps immensely with your Godamon plays and early Tamer setup. One copy of the BT8 Miss Memory Boost, a great card that not only helps build trash early with pieces that are vital to our game plan, the extra 2 memory from delay effect also helps answer the memory efficiency issue that this deck runs into at times. So 2 extra memory is also just nice to have. Better than none, right? Better than none. One copy of the BT7 Calling from Darkness, since it is currently a limited to 1 copy card as well. It's a very powerful card, still is, and a very good staple card for all purple colored decks. By deleting one of your own Digimon, you get to return up to 2 purple Digimon from trash back to hand. Also, as a friendly reminder, you can still retrieve back pieces from trash even though you didn't delete a Digimon you control. So you can basically play this option card while not having a Digimon in the battle area. That part is now resolved and it just whiffs, and then you can get your up to 2 purple Digimon from your trash. So many players are still misinformed and misled regarding this card and how it works, and they often think that you still have to delete a Digimon in order to return pieces back from trash. It's not a requirement. The way the card is written is you perform the actions of A, then you do the actions of B. In regards to this card, the way the sentence is structured, A is not a requirement in order to do B in this card's case. So just a friendly reminder, that way everyone knows. And before someone in the comments section for the 18th time decides to go, oh, you can't do that with Calling. No, you for sure can. That is how you play Calling from Darkness, I promise you. Hope you become a better player with that knowledge. And finally, our last 3 cards will be 3 copies of Chaos Degradation. This is still one of the best removal tools in the game. Not many cards can interact with it still. Best case scenario, you have a few in security to stop any opponent from checking into too many of your security cards and stops them dead in their tracks. Love seeing this against the Tyrant Kabu matchup especially. And it saved me several times against the Crest Gururumon, or excuse me, Ancient Gururumon matchup. Alrighty. Now, personally, my tech choices are strictly limited to mostly option cards. The deck itself has to run very specific Digimon to be able to function, and so you can't risk running too many different cards. It's a very short list, but here are some of my top favorite tech choices you can potentially use in this deck. BT10 Loenke Adestako is a great option to use in this deck, as it is a monocolor yellow card. Has the effect to be able to remove an opponent's Digimon and place it on top of the security stack, or you could just minus 12,000 DP. The minus 12,000 DP requirement is if you have 3 or more security cards. If you have 3 or fewer security cards, you just place it on top of their security stack. However, there's the magic to this card. If you happen to sit exactly at 3 security cards, you get to activate both effects. So you can see as why this could be a potentially powerful card to use in the Mastemon deck. I honestly might mess around with it. I might actually take 1 Chaos out just to run the 1 Loenke, just to try out. But honestly, it's, like I said, preference. It's a tech choice. It's a very strong card too, so take that as you will. Next tech choice, a very good honorable mention, is the BT5 Demonic Disaster. It's a fantastic card you could potentially opt to use. By deleting one of your Digimon, you unsuspend one of your other purple Digimon. Gives you the potential to attack again with Mastemon that has access to Alliance for a potential 4 security checks in a single turn. The security effect can also play out a level 3 from your trash, so good way to get your floodgates back if you need. Unfortunately, on plays don't trigger, so no use in playing your Salas. Now, final tech choice. This is for you. This is for those who decide to still use any of the Lucemon Chaos Mode cards for their deck. This is potentially a great tech card to use alongside with it. The BT3 Mastemon, this particular one isn't a DNA one. However, by digivolving on top of any level 5 or purple Digimon, you force both you and your opponent to trash the top card of your security, respectively, and play any level 4 or lower yellow or purple Digimon from your trash without paying the cost. Ideally, you'd want to play out a body that can rush in order to attack for lethal, but that's only if you ended up forcing your opponent to trash their final security card. And that's it for techs. As far as price goes into building Mastemon, it is by no means cheap. I'm going to be real with you, chat. Mastemon is not a very cheap deck. And most Digimon most meta Digimon decks usually are affordable. They are. Mastemon is one of those one of the rare few decks that require both skill and game knowledge in order to properly play and really bring out its full potential. It's definitely not a beginner-friendly deck, nor is it accessible. Reason why I use the term accessible, I'll get to in just a moment. Disclaimer, this is just a rough estimate of how much this deck can potentially cost if you were to just build this exact list of cards that I showed you in my profile. And this is for the low rarity. If you're making this exact list of cards, and at the low rarity, dude, you're gonna be spending at least somewhere near $250. I know that's not a small amount, and that's a pretty hard pill to swallow. I know, and unfortunately, majority of the cards that you need to use are expensive. And that is that $250 estimate is based on the current market prices as of this date. And for any of you curious as to how much my current build is with the specific levels of rarity of cards I run, it's right around $1,888. Not a small number, that's for sure. But hey, don't let these large figures deter you from trying a deck that looks fun and has the potential to do great things in the competitive meta scene. Some players may make the argument that Mastemon isn't very viable competitively because of how poorly it performs against other decks, which may be true, but realistically, it's the price tag on specific cards that are required to play the deck. The waifu tax is so real with this one, which is why I say this deck isn't very accessible for many. You can't play the deck if you don't have these specific cards, and these specific cards are expensive, so not a lot of people want to pay that money to get those cards. So one of the few reasons why you won't be seeing too many Mastemon decks even mentioned in most tournament results. That's the reason why. Accessibility is limited, unfortunately. Anyway, that's all from me. Mastemon will continue to be one of my main decks, if not absolute favorites, and I'll continue to do my part to maintain its relevancy in the competitive meta. I hope you all enjoyed this video to the very end, and I hope that this helps all of you who are either struggling with the deck or wanting to play the deck and can hopefully go into building it and playing it with that much more confidence. Anyway, this is the hiscorechef signing off. Until next time, you all be well, be safe, and as always, be hungry for more. Catch you on the next one, guys. Bye-bye.